Hello everyone. So I just saw Alien Covenant and I came out of the theater like less than 30 minutes ago, and I decided just while I'm walking back home to give some of my first impressions and hopefully not ramble too much. So excuse the background noise because I'm walking through a commercial district right now, but you can still hear my voice, so it should all be good. And I was pretty happy with how the Wonder Woman rambling impressions that I did turned out, so I thought that this should be a good way to get this done and share my thoughts just while I'm walking about, and I feel like I can get it done faster this way. I actually had to scrap my first attempt at this because I was in the downtown of my city, and there were some people yelling in the background, things that I didn't want to record, but I guess that you kind of run the risk of that when I'm not in like a quiet room in my house, as opposed to in public where I can't really control the environment as well. But anyway, I should also say that this is podcast style, so probably just a still image in the video space. So if that doesn't hold your attention, then you don't have to watch this. And then also, I'm going to try and keep this as spoiler-free as possible. This movie has some twists and some reveals that really add to the viewing experience, so you guys should try and stay away from that until you've seen the movie. So anyway, I should also say that I'm not like the biggest fan of the Alien franchise, because I've only seen Alien and Aliens, and then I guess Covenant. So I haven't seen Prometheus, and just from watching this movie, it seemed like there were references to the events of that movie, and perhaps it builds on some of those things as well. But supposedly, it doesn't build on enough of those things to warrant calling Alien Covenant Prometheus 2, or specifying somehow that it is related to Prometheus through the title. But anyway, my favorite thing about this movie was that there's this character in it that what he did and how they characterized him, and just kind of, in addition to some of the twists, by the end I just hated him, and it was intentional. I hated him because of the crafty writing and control over the events of the movie that the writers had, which I thought was really cool. So I'll leave it at that. And then the conclusion was also, it's somewhat unusual for, big budget Hollywood movies to have. And I was pretty happy with that. And it was really nice and fresh to see, these types of movies take risks. And I know it makes a lot more sense with Alien to go with the type of ending that it had, just because, it is a horror movie, in addition to being a sci-fi movie, and sometimes a big budget sci-fi movie. So that was neat to see the ending that it has. It's it is unusual for the type of thing that it is. So that was pretty cool. What else? Oh, I just love the aesthetic that Alien has, and with the current special effects and technical capabilities that artists and filmmaking crews have these days, they're able to add a lot of style to it, and I really like that kind of unique take on how futuristic technology looks that that Alien has. Like, it's kind of like, it has this kind of hostile, kind of lifeless and cold look to it and aesthetic to it. While, as opposed to something like, I don't know, like maybe some of Star Trek, or some of like Guardians of the Galaxy. The technology usually looks a little more serene or warm. So I think that's neat. I just like to see that aesthetic, and I feel like we don't get too much of that aesthetic nowadays. That kind of hostile look to the futuristic technology in movies. So I'd totally be down for more of that, for seeing more of that. What else? I also, I'm not very familiar with, the backstory and the background of the xenomorphs. But what they had, kind of the events that they showed in this movie, some of that backstory and history behind the xenomorphs, how they, a little bit of how they came to be, and how they were used in the past, and what they were like in the past. I thought that was really cool, and supposedly some of that isn't consistent with what the other movies set up, but I just thought it was cool and epic. But I feel like there was a little bit that I didn't catch on to. There were some allusions to and references to David, and I'm not a historian, so I'm not exactly sure why one of the characters chooses that name. But maybe if I look into that, maybe I'll have a little more appreciation. But I feel like I appreciated the movie a lot nonetheless, and I thought it was suspenseful, and there were some gruesome moments, but I didn't feel like it was too gruesome. I mean, it was a lot of CG blood and violence, which it's not pleasant to see, but it's not cringeworthy violence like some movies, I guess Logan. That violence, that was visceral, and that was not fun to watch at all. Well, I mean, it was, but it was kind of it got under my skin a lot, and or something like Daredevil, the Netflix TV series, that gets under my skin, and kind of it's sort of cringeworthy, or not cringeworthy, but I'm cringing at what's happening, which is cool. And it didn't really go for that as much, but it builds this dread and suspense and doom. Even though the aliens don't show up till or the xenomorphs don't show up till halfway through the movie, I'm just kind of getting excited. All right, I want to see the xenomorphs, or what are they going to look like? And as far as the xenomorphs go, one thing that I kind of look for during kind of monster movies, I guess, is how cool the monster looks, and then also how scary it is. Because I feel like the xenomorph does a pretty good job of balancing the two. Or it does a good job. Now I suppose it might depend on the movie. I found the xenomorphs from Aliens more menacing than from Alien, but maybe that was just because my viewing experience of Alien at the time. Maybe I should probably go rewatch Alien at some point, but I don't know. I just don't really feel like it. It's weird. I saw a video about it, and I feel like I appreciate more things about Alien than I did before seeing that analysis of it. But I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like I don't really need to, I guess. All right. Sorry, there was another disruption in the from the public. But yeah, the aliens in this movie, they're the way they're characterized is like they're animated in a way that, like, they're I think they're full CG this time. I don't think there's any practical effect out of the xenomorph, which I don't know. I kind of like the practical, and they looked okay. They looked pretty good, and the style was cool, but they didn't have that, like, as much tangibility as, like, the aliens, the xenomorphs in Aliens have. So, I didn't think it was distracting CG or anything, but I guess that's just what my observations of it were. Yeah, these aliens, they were a lot more they were a lot more aggressive and ferocious and fierce than they were in, like, Alien or Aliens, but they still have that stealthy kind of elusiveness to them that they had in both those movies, and that was kind of the main thing in those movies, from what I remember, that kind of made them so menacing, is how they would kind of infest into places, kind of like vermin, and scuttle around. And these xenomorphs still kind of had that. They still did, and but they also were a lot. They seemed like they moved quicker because it's CG, and more. They were more brutal, I suppose, in this Alien Covenant movie. So yeah, I still got a kick out of them. As far as which one I prefer, I don't know. I don't really think it matters. It kind of depends on what the movie is and what it's going for. Yeah, the xenomorphs, they still were awesome, and unsettling, and they keep you on edge, but they're still, I don't know, it's kind of still fun to have that kind of that menace that they bring in a movie. As far as characters go, I thought they're all pretty good. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about that. No one annoyed me, and no one seemed especially stupid or whatever. Like sometimes in horror movies there's, the writers need to make contrivances so they have idiotic characters that make decisions that, like, no rational human being would ever make. And I don't think I noticed anything like that. But, yeah, I think that's all I've got to say, so thanks for listening.